Hey guys, what's up? This is number 7 on my top 20 list of the biggest mistakes that I've seen Ukrainian firms make when selling to Americans. Now, this is kind of a little bit of carryover, but don't be ignorant to the US tech market and US tech news and business news. The US tech industry is like the epicenter of the global tech world. Do yourself a favor and watch some US business news. If Apple just came out with a new version of their iPhone or the new iWatch, or there's some big tech development, Uber's making a self-driving taxi, robo-taxi, you should probably know that when you get on a call with a US customer. So they're gonna wanna chit chat and these things come up in the conversation. So I'll give you some helpful links to help you get started. But I want you guys to take a little bit of time every day, every week, and just familiarize yourself with the business landscape, the tech landscape in America. Also globally, but especially in America, if you're on the calls with US customers. I hope that helps, guys, and I hope that gives you a little bit of an advantage as you're having conversations. And most Americans are super passionate about what they do. They're super passionate about being in tech. That's really why they're working 60-hour work weeks. It's not because they're forced to, it's because they're passionate. So if you want to do business with Americans and you want to fit in, get passionate about the tech industry and be prepared to speak intelligently. ChatGPT also can really help you with this. So I use Meta. You can use Grok for this or whatever your preference is, but when you get up in the morning, just ask it to tell you the most recent breaking tech news developments from America, right? That's a great way just to get a morning briefing before you start your day, so you at least have an idea of what the top stories are. All right, number 8, the customer is always right. This is a philosophy that we have in business, and whether you agree with it or not, I want to let you know that a lot of US companies have this kind of philosophy. The customer is always right. And I think it's an old saying that goes back, to one of the early kind of founders of American business, whether it was Henry Ford or maybe J.C. Penney. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look it up. But this is a philosophy that we absolutely live by in America. So if you go to a Starbucks and you order a coffee and the barista messes up your coffee order, and it's not what you ordered and you bring it back, they will absolutely give you another one for free that is what you ordered, and they'll probably let you keep the first one. So we have this culture where we go above and beyond. We give first to the customers because the customer is our lifeblood. Without the customer, we're not making any money. We don't have a business. So the customer is put right front and center. And in the United States, that's really where you saw the emergence of customer success teams, right? We kind of rebranded customer service to customer success in the tech industry because we want to see our customers be successful. We want to have a great partnership with them. We want them to feel really good about partnering with us and being successful in business with us. So I'll tell you a story. And this is just one story, but I've had something similar to this happen many, many times, right? So we had a project that we were working on with one of our Ukrainian partners, and the US customer had a firm fixed budget every month. So they were fundraising, they were trying to raise more funds, but until they were able to, they had a firm fixed budget every month. And the budget was reasonable. Honestly, it was enough to get the job done. I'm involved with my Ukrainian partners on every single call, every step of the way. Every time that we talk to the customer, I'm there helping to move us towards a win. And they made it very clear that they had a certain fixed budget. Now, they also talked about getting burned in the past. They really had a bad experience and they got burned pretty badly. So they were hurting, right, from that. And I, of course, came in and said, hey, don't worry, our teams that we work with in Ukraine, they're really, really good. If you give them a fixed budget ceiling, they're not going to exceed that. Well, month 1, everything went smoothly. Month 2, I think it still was going pretty smooth. Month 3, guess what happened? They went over the fixed budget ceiling. Now, this triggered a blame game of like, well, they asked us to do something that wasn't covered under the initial scope of work. We sent an email to the CTO explaining that this was going to cost extra. So we did our job. We let them know. We communicated. Well, guess what? That CTO has like thousands of emails in their inbox. And so just because you can check the box and say that you told them doesn't mean they read it or they understood it, right? So here you go. We end up in this situation where they overbilled the customer. Now, It was not a big overage, actually, in the grand scheme of things. It would have been really easy for the Ukrainian firm to say, hey, we'll just hope that this doesn't happen again. We'll double down on our communication. Usually, whether we're at fault or not, we usually will take the blame the first time that there's a miscommunication in America with our customers, okay? We're not gonna throw the customer under the bus. We're gonna be gracious. We're gonna be kind to the customer. We're gonna assume that it was a miscommunication. Even in the language that we use, it's very non-accusatory. It's not like, you told us this and we told you this. It's like, hey, we had a miscommunication. We apologize. You know, that part's on us. We're gonna cap it at the budget and we're gonna continue on, because we understand that if we partner for 6 more months with that customer or another year with that customer, that far outweighs the little tiny chunk of revenue that we might get if we argue and fight and insist on charging them what's over their budget ceiling, right? It's kind of common sense. Well, unfortunately, the Ukrainian partner didn't see it that way, and they insisted that the US customer pay them the amount that was owed over the fixed budget. And they said, okay, we'll pay it. But shortly after they paid it, they called and said, we're going to pause the project. And they didn't make it obvious. You know, we're doing some fundraising, you know, we're gonna put things on hold for now. We'll unpause next month after we've balanced out the difference from the amount that you overcharged us, right? Well, what do you think happened the next month? Crickets. They never resumed the project. Month after that, crickets. Month after that, they never came back to the table. So I have a saying for this. I call it being a penny smart and a dollar dumb, okay? You don't want to be so focused on your little slice, your penny, your little slice of the pie, that you lose a customer who could be giving you so much more revenue over the course of 6 months or 10 months or 12 months, you know, in a long-term relationship. So if you make a mistake with a US customer, own that mistake. If it's not major in the grand scheme of things, give them the coffee for free. Okay? Because if you insist that they pay an extra 5% on top of what they're already paying for a miscommunication, you'll find that they told you goodbye and you didn't even realize it. Because in America, we don't even say goodbye. We say, until next time. So you may get dumped and you didn't even realize you're dumped. So guys, this is really important, okay? The customer is always right. And here's another thing. Don't let your engineers hash out the customer service issue. If you have a customer that has an issue and you've got a bunch of tech head, you know, people that are like on computers all day, never talking to customers, that are coding, whatever, they're not really like customer facing. They're not diplomatic. They don't have any negotiating skills. Don't have them be on the front line of trying to handle a customer issue. If the customer says there's an issue, no matter how disrespectful they might be, train your frontline staff members to hold the line and to pass it up to you or to someone who is customer facing that can handle it with a little diplomacy. This could save you a ton of headache down the road. All right, guys, there's always going to be a couple abusive customers. That's the exception, not the rule. But the rule is the customer's always right. So more often than not, we're going to give first. We're going to apologize for miscommunications. We're going to assume the customer's always right. Because at the same time, we're not desperate. Now, if you are desperate and you just don't have any other business, and that's why you're really pounding the table, demanding that extra 3% or 5%, whatever, then guys, we got to talk about your pipeline. That's a whole nother video, but I can help you with that too. Anyways, I hope this was helpful, guys. I really do.